recently jumped on a flight and I headed over to Barcelona, Spain to attend the very first ever conference put on by the Penpot team. Penpot is a 100% free, open source design and prototype tool made specifically for product designers and product teams. It is modern, it is amazing, it rivals all the big boys in the industry, and you heard me right when I said it's 100% free now and forever. It is a true open source tool. Now, this conference is one of the best conferences I've ever been to, and the reason that it was so phenomenal was not because of the amazing scenery, not because of the amazing food, not even because of the amazing talks and content and subject matter, but it was because of the Penpot community. This community of designers and developers are passionate, they are talented, they are at the top of their game, but they are also huge advocates of the open source movement. This means that they have a passion for breaking down any and every barrier that would stand in between you as a creative and the tools that you use. I want to share a few of these amazing conversations that I had so that you can get an idea of why open source matters. Also, Penpot released some really cool features like CSS Grid inside of the design tool that are kind of mind-blowing. I'll tell you a little bit more about that later.
One of the things that convinced me from Penpot's perspective was the fact that I asked them if they're going to do like a web wrapper app for their web app. So that looks a little bit like a native app and has some pre-caching inside so it can work a little bit offline. And they said that they don't have to do it because there are people already doing it in the community because the app is open source. So basically keeping it open source allows a lot of people to add stuff faster and that you can completely customize the experience. And it doesn't even have to be plugins. It can be a lot more than plugins. It can go beyond plugins. It can be like a complete mix of like different apps built on top of Penpot, for example, or on top of other apps like that. So there are basically endless possibilities, and then open formats and open standards just make it easier for other people to build their own tools that use those same standards. And we all know that there are some companies that are locking their formats famously. So open source is just basically the opposite of that, opening the formats so everybody can contribute to them and create something that's just way better for everybody.
Normally in my job or in my past jobs, you only do one type of design, and nowadays it's most of the time you use a design system. So almost every design is the same. And if you want to create something different at work, it's almost impossible to have that opportunity unless you are creating something unique. But most of the time our products, the concept can be unique, but the UI is similar to other UIs. So the opportunity to create something unique, I see it in open source, is where let me create a cassette tape, or I have one project called React Kawaii. There is like Kawaii illustrations. And that's where I have my ideas and I do it, and then I share it to the world.
It's awesome. So it's a playground. It's a space
Yeah.
for you to do things, and then people also adding to those ideas that you have.
And also to contribute, because sometimes you find the project that you envision and someone already built it, and you can go there and do open a feature request or contribute.
I want to take a moment and tell you a little bit more about Penpot, because this tool is fully featured. It is super smooth, and it's, like I said, 100% open source and free. That means free now and free forever. You can start an account for free, and it has all the bells and whistles that you might want. It has live collaboration with your team. It has inspect mode with amazing code output for your engineering or developer teams. It also has components, interactive components. You can build design systems and full-fledged applications. Penpot actually has features inside of its layout tools that match the exact way that developers build websites and applications. I made an entire video about their Flexbox feature, which I'll put in a card somewhere up here, and Flexbox is apples to apples how engineers actually develop on the web. And if that wasn't enough, at the conference they made a huge announcement by introducing CSS Grid directly in the design tool. CSS Grid, in my opinion, is one of the best ways to lay out your websites and your design projects. There's so much control, it's so easy to use, but again, the biggest thing for me is that when that code outputs using CSS Grid or Flexbox or the combination of them, your engineers and developers get to pull that code and it is flawless. If you haven't checked out Penpot, you 100% should. I'll put a link down in the description. You can sign up for free and you'll use it forever for free because again, it's open source.
If you're at school and you learn open source, the day you graduate, you don't have student licenses that are expiring, so it's yours forever. Like when they say that it's forever, it really is. Even if everybody that develops the software suddenly stops, the software is still there and it's yours. You can do whatever you want. And if you learn development, you can change it. You can make your own. You can gather friends and continue it. That's the perpetuity, the eternity in software.
Yeah.
It's only possible if the source is available. But then you have, privacy, like what's happening under the hood. People are also concerned with this about nowadays because you don't know what's going on. Hey, there is internet activity going. Well, what's that? I'm not doing anything.
So transparency, privacy, yeah.
But to me, the most important thing is just the sharing part. Just being able to like, I make this cool thing, and you can too. You can literally, actually, that's how I started. Somebody gave me a floppy drive with Blender in it, and that's how it started. And it wasn't illegal or anything. Blender was open source, and there's so many other tools. And we have Penpot for design. We have every time you have to learn a new tool. I think always, just in case, Google whatever software, open source. Photoshop, open source. Figma, open source. And you're going to find open source alternatives. There is even a website called Open Source Alternative, which shows you this is software you're looking for. These are the other alternatives. Some of them are open source, some are not.
And also I think the free part of it is also empowering a lot of people from emerging countries, basically, emerging economies.
Yeah, I speak with a lot of creatives that are getting into the industry, and there is this barrier to entry, which is the cost of a subscription, paying for something you don't even know how to use yet, versus something that is free, will always be free, and that you can become part of that community. It's a powerful invitation to not just learn a tool, but get you as quickly as possible into creative problem solving.
Yeah, so I think it's kind of like we went full circle. We started with those expensive boxes of Adobe products many years ago. Then it went to free versions of things, then cheap subscriptions, but then those subscriptions are climbing in price. So we're going back to free from a completely different angle this time.
Well, that's it. Those are just a few conversations I had with so many amazing people at Penpot Fest 2023. I can't wait to go back in 2024. Again, if you want to be a part of the Penpot community and this growing, thriving open source movement, check the link down in the description, get signed up for Penpot, and start using it in your design work. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. I do lots of videos about design, development, and now maybe open source stuff as well, so stick around. I hope you're having an amazing week, designing amazing things, and making amazing things. We'll see you in the next one.